I'd lived here for almost 20 years. I was only 13 when the factory was shut down. I could still remember the night when the alarm woke people up from their dreams, ordering them to move out. 48 hours later, the whole area was blocked. We didn't know what happened. Everything fell into chaos. People were pushed into military trucks in a hurry. I got separated from my parents that night, and it was the last time I saw them. Now their faces in my memory have been blurred. The place where I grew up was called Chopped Bog Town. In my childhood, there was always a damp and sticky smell. Most townspeople worked in a slaughterhouse, which was affiliated to a 12th Institute of Biological Studies. When I was a little boy, I often climbed up and down the stairs of the building. On the top of the high tower, it gave a view of many alive, dying, and dead animals. The main study project of a 12th Institute was the limiting of pain tolerance, with poultry and large mammals as their experimental subjects. The slaughterhouse was fenced by a stone wall with a height of more than 10 meters. There were no fences or windows, but a narrow gap of 20 meters long and only 20 centimeters high, which was designed to prevent animals from escaping. Through this gap, one could see the experiments inside. This was the electroplating laboratory, a mental structure of high-tension current columnar grid, under which was an electrolytic concentrated acid pool. The animals were metallized alive here, turning to glimmering chrome-plated works of art. First, the animals would be shaved from top to bottom. Then they were tied up and brought here. When their limbs and horns were secured, the metallizing would begin. Sulfuric acid was diluted and sprayed on the animals, and then electrolyzed the metal. The coatings in the metal settled on the smooth skin, creating a silvery reflective coating. A few animals were lucky enough to escape and ran all the way to the edge of the slaughterhouse. The annular slaughterhouse was fenced by a steel scaffolding of dozens of meters high. There was only one exit, leading to Schindler's restaurant, where a banner read, "Welcome Schindler's fried chicken and hot dogs." The frightened animals, of course, could not understand these words. They ran inside and disappeared. Schindler's has a few specialties, where the names were too bloody to be mentioned. The restaurant was known for its fresh bird cuisine. The birds were electrocuted if they came near the electric grid place over the dining area. Falling into the restaurant, they became ingredients. Another show provided here was called The Poisoned Fish. People found that red amount of carbon monoxide could make fish meat more bright colored. However, in the poisoned fish, superfluous carbon monoxide were poured in a steel fish tank instead of oxygen. People watched the fish struggling, twisting, hitting the glass, and then dying. One day, an accident occurred. The sealed fish tank was smashed by fish. The highly toxic carbon monoxide leaked out. The accident caused 23 customers to be poisoned, including one child whose hemoglobin oxygen carrying capacity was permanently lost. They had to shut down the restaurant for renovation. Some said there was a huge conspiracy behind the accident. The slaughterhouse, the restaurant, the police force, and the hospital were secretly collaborating on a more secret experiment. The idea was to create the perfect human who could not feel the pain. Deep inside the A12 Institute of Biological Studies, there was a cell sealed by an iron gate. The words writing on it read, "When meine Seele Sumutterlin hyphened," which means when my soul begins to cry. Unlike the rest places of the town, even the slightest stench of blood could not be found here. Instead, the air was filled with the faint smell of disinfectant. The outside of the slaughterhouse was a maze. Every year, many naughty kids would get lost there. Some adults said to the boys, "You'd better not go there until you are a real man. Those stairs are not for cows." When a missing child was reported, the police just exercised their daily routine, taking photos of the scene and writing a report. They wouldn't actually have the parents find the children. They even wouldn't go through the gate of the slaughterhouse. On the other hand, people were clear about what happened to those missing children. My childhood friend got lost in the slaughterhouse, trying to prove she could be as good as the boys. When her parents called the police, all they got was a lofty notice for a would-be search. I decided to do it alone. I was sure she was in the cell of When My Soul Begins to Cry. I crawled through the narrow air vent into the deeps of A12. The vents only allowed a child to pass. From the end of the vent, I scrambled over the wall. Then I saw a rotating corridor. Going along the corridor, I saw two sets of humanoid models which were of children's height. At the exit of the corridor, there was a room with a closed door, where many human skulls were demonstrated. The skulls looked fresh and moist. Some had traces of blood that had not been cleaned or dried. The strong scent of disinfectant filled the room. Inside an iron gate marked with the number 5, I heard a faint cry for help. "Please, stop it. I can't control myself." Then there was a violent bang, as if a fierce beast was locked inside. Today is A12's news conference. They have synthesized a kind of new meat, a combination of rabbit, fish, and mollusk, which is called the door. It is the first time that such a huge living creature is demonstrated. The researcher cuts off a tentacle of the door with a knife. Well, it feels no pain. If it doesn't feel pain, says the principal of A12, does it have a soul? The soul, as we all know, has become an obstacle of life. Now, I believe we have created the most perfect creature, the door. Apart from the door, A12 released another little door. It is said the little door was inspired by a lost little girl, but no one cares about who the little girl is. Later I learned that the day after my friend disappeared, her family had already guessed what might happen. That night, they went to one of the most famous wizards in the town. The wizard lived alone in a log cabin, which was covered with strange plants. It was said that he never went out. Malignant tumors overgrew his body. He had experienced terrible things. The wizard told the parents, "You are about to receive a new life, which has no face or no heart." The wizard gave the parents a grass vase and told them to hang it in a tree in the country yard. Crying is the evidence of pain. Pain is the evidence of a soul. This is our way home. The restaurant outside the slaughterhouse have introduced a new dish, the dome meal. Before long, 812 were closed. When I came back, it was almost 20 years. In the night, the alarm woke people up, and I left in a hurry with many others. Now, it is not that chopped bog town in my memory or more. New tall buildings have been built in town. Fancy cars park in front of them. People are walking on the streets, living a peaceful and rich life. The former slaughterhouse has not been demolished, becoming ruins. Next to it, the loudspeakers on the roof of a new building blared the speeches about equality and the law all day long. I am told that it is the 813th Institute of Thought and Behavior. Everything goes back on track, and nobody cares about what was happened.
On a wagon bound for market, there a calf with a mournful eye. High above him there's a swallow, winging sweetly through the sky. How the winds are laughing, they laugh with all their might. Laugh and laugh the whole day through, and half the summer's night. Dona, 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 do. Dona, 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 do.